Have you ever thought about what it would be like if one person could do, well, pretty much everything and be a master at all of it? It sounds impossible, right? Well, today we're looking at someone who actually did just that. So, first up, picture a world-famous painter. I'm talking about someone whose art you'd recognize in a heartbeat. Okay, now on top of that, imagine the brain of a brilliant scientist, someone who is constantly taking the world apart just to see how it works. And we're still not done. Let's add visionary inventor, a super practical engineer, and a game-changing architect to the list. I mean, come on, that's just an unbelievable combination of talents for one person. The person we are talking about, of course, is Leonardo da Vinci. And in this explainer, we're going to try and get inside his head a little bit, explore his incredible life, and figure out what made him tick. So you have to ask yourself, where does a mind like that even come from? To really get a handle on the master, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning to see where his endlessly curious mind got its start. All right, so Leonardo was born way back in 1452 in a small Italian town. And get this, by the time he was just 14, his talent was so off the charts that he was sent to Florence to train with a famous artist. And that's where he started picking up all those skills in painting, sculpture, and even engineering that would shape his entire life. But here's the thing, his genius wasn't just something he was taught, it was just in him. As a kid, he was relentlessly curious. He was always out there drawing nature, studying how animals moved, taking things apart to see how they ticked, and just asking questions about absolutely everything. So yeah, even from a really young age, it was totally clear that Leonardo's greatest gift wasn't just what he could do with his hands, it was his mind. He wasn't just an artist, he was a deep, profound thinker who saw the world in a totally different way. Okay, let's shift gears and talk about what he's most famous for, his art. Because Leonardo didn't just create beautiful paintings. He created art that felt truly alive, and in the process, he basically changed the game forever. I mean, think about the Mona Lisa. It's got to be the most famous painting on the entire planet. But have you ever really stopped and asked yourself, why? What is it about this one portrait that just captivates everyone? Let's break down his genius a little bit. With the Mona Lisa, it's that mysterious smile and the incredible way her eyes seem to follow you, right? He pulled that off using techniques with light and shadow that nobody had ever seen before. And then you look at The Last Supper. It's just pure, raw human emotion. He captures that single, heart-stopping moment when Jesus reveals he'll be betrayed, and you can see a totally different, powerful reaction on every single face. But here's the thing. To create art that realistic, you need more than just a paintbrush. You need a deep, almost obsessive understanding of the world itself. And that's what led him into this whole secret world hidden away for centuries across thousands of pages in his private notebooks. Okay, get ready for this, because this might be the biggest surprise of all. For all his fame as an artist, Leonardo actually thought of himself as a scientist and an engineer first. That's how he saw his main job in the world. And the proof is right there. He left behind thousands of pages in his private notebooks, and they weren't filled with art. They were packed with scientific diagrams, engineering plans, and incredibly detailed observations. And his interests were just boundless. To paint people more realistically, he secretly studied human bodies to create some of the first accurate anatomical drawings ever. To paint a river, he first had to understand the physics of how water flows. He was obsessed with the flight of birds and the inner workings of machines and gears. And his designs, whoa, they show just how far ahead of his time he was. These weren't just doodles. We're talking about concepts for an early tank, machine guns, and super complex bridges that he actually pitched to military leaders. His ideas for a flying machine and a parachute, they came from a deep scientific obsession to conquer the sky. The technology didn't exist to build them yet, but centuries later we realized his designs were incredibly accurate. So how do you make sense of these two different sides of him, the artist and the scientist? Well, the answer is that for Leonardo, they weren't two sides at all. They were one and the same. You know, we have a term for this kind of person, a Renaissance man, someone who's a genius in a ton of different fields. Honestly, that term could have been invented just for Leonardo. He is the original, the ultimate example. And this right here is his core philosophy. Leonardo believed art and science were completely connected. He didn't just paint a hand. He first had to study every muscle and bone under the skin. He didn't just draw a bird. He first had to understand the principles of flight. For him, that deep scientific understanding was the secret ingredient to making truly powerful art. And if you could sum up his entire life in just one quote, it would probably be this one: learning never exhausts the mind. He lived his whole life with this incredible, insatiable curiosity, like the search for knowledge was this lifelong, joyful adventure.
So at the end of the day, Leonardo's life really teaches us that curiosity can change the world. It's what drove him to create, to invent, and to understand. So that leaves just one question. What are you curious about?